Now we're on.
All right, we are here making Scentsy samples to hand out with our flyers and brochures. If you don't have the flyers and brochures, it's always good to be able to hand out the samples, so you'll need a couple of things. I go to Michael's, or you can get them at Walmart. You get these individual jewelry bags. And then some people use their business card to put in there. I have a stamp with my name, my phone number, my email address, and my web address that I then insert into each bag, and once my samples are made, I add the sample into the bag as well. Mine aren't cut perfectly. I just slice them, and then I staple it to my Warmer of the Month brochure. You will also need, obviously, some wax to melt. This is our Scentsy brick that comes in your Warmer and Scent of the Month kit. You get a brick, you get 6 bars, a room spray, and your tester. So I usually take 1 cube out of the brick and melt it down into my pan. I've already made some samples in the past, so I have some leftover from the last sample that I'll just warm up with this. Gas stove. It'll heat this up very quickly. If you have a glass top or electrical stove, you can put it on medium. With the gas stove, I light it and then I put it on low just because it warms up so quickly. So again, I have the leftovers, and then I just break out a cube of this, and then wait for it to all melt. You don't want to heat it too fast. If you do, you're going to get white smoke all throughout your house. And then you have burned Scentsy wax, which is not the most pleasant smell. It's not the worst, but definitely not the most pleasant. So we warm this up, melt it down. In the meantime, what I will do if I'm not caught up with my stuffing is I already have these pre-cut. If I didn't do that, then I would start cutting, and then I just start stuffing my bags with my little business info, so I can have that available to hand out to any of my customers that I have, or I mail them out in a mailing. I also, when I go to the bank, throw one in for my teller. If I'm at the grocery store, I will hand that to the clerk as she's checking me out as well. Sometimes I get funny looks. Sometimes people think it's the greatest thing ever, and so it's fun to hand out our little wax samples, and sometimes you get the call back of, I met you at the grocery store, you know, I would like to order some Scentsy and see a catalog. So this is still melting, and if it takes, you know, you just have to kind of adjust. I'll turn it up a little bit more for it to go a little bit faster. There's some different ways that you can do this. I use little mini cookie cutters that I got from Michael's. Some people use actual molds, and so they'll actually, and if you see it smoking now, so I'm going to turn this down, otherwise we'll have a really burned smell. Some people will use like a mold. A sample of that would be like one of these, where I can melt it down, and they'll get an actual like fondue pot that you can pour it. But these are a lot bigger than the thin little samples, so for me it's just more cost effective to do this. It takes a little bit more time than, you know, just being able to pour your melted wax, because you can do a bunch. Takes a little bit more time, but I don't mind doing that at this point in the business. So I think it's just whatever works best. If you don't want to cut them out individually with cookie cutters, then you should definitely use the molds. But like I said, the actual wax that you hand out is going to be a lot thicker. So we're still waiting for it to melt down. Do you want to turn it off? All right. So we took just a quick break while that melted down. I got out my hot pads that my sister makes for incentive gifts. These are 2 different ones. Kind of fun. So get your hot pad out, remove it from the stove. It's completely melted, so it's liquefied. And now I'm going to set it on a flat surface and let it harden, not all the way, but enough that it's hard enough that I can then put the cookie cutter in to make the different shapes. I left that on like numerous times. And turn your stove off. So we did that. We'll just take another break because this is going to harden, and then I will show you how we cut it out, and then we pop it in the freezer. After it's in the freezer, for I would say about 10 minutes, you should be able to just dump it over and your samples will fall right out, and you put them into the little baggies, and then everyone thinks you took hours to make little tulip or whatever shape you decide to do samples for them. All right, so now our wax has hardened, not all the way, but enough that we can take the cookie cutter. And what I will do is use my space efficiently, just because I don't want to do this a zillion times in a night, and just start punching out the little tulip along the way until I've filled the entire pan. And again, there's different shapes. I think we have a flower, there's a bell, so you can do different seasons. If you want to get super creative, you can go cookie cutter shopping. I just stick with the 6 that you get in the Michaels stack, and just go from there. So I just keep cutting. After I'm finished, this goes in the freezer, and then after about 10 minutes, I'll pop it out and put the samples in my individual bags, and then they're ready to hand to customers. So this is what it looks like now that I've gone all the way around. Throw it in the freezer, and if I need to do another round, because there is 50 flyers, this is definitely not 50 samples, I'll just use the leftover wax that's on the outside, warm that, and then just use another cube from my brick. So into the freezer it goes. And you have samples. All right, so this is what they look like when they're done, and then they just snap right out, and then you put them in the little bag. So I take my bag and put that in. And then I just put this in, and then I can either hand that to a customer or I can staple it to my flyer, and there's my sample with my business card.